Hello, everyone. Is the Prophet Michael David, aka Aries, and today is the day I'm going to tell you all about antichrists, both past and present. Okay, firstly, we got to do some teaching and background because most everybody doesn't even know what that word really means. Antichrist, you know, it has something to do with Jesus. So, what does it actually mean? Well, simply put, Christ just means anointed one. A representative of God, a prophet, and Jesus isn't really Jesus's real name. His real given name, if you go back to, it wasn't Hebrew, but is Aramaic, and they are related a little bit, I think. But his given name is Yeshua. And at the time, as a proclaimed prophet of God, they would have called him Yeshua the Messiah. So Yeshua in Hebrew means salvation, but its more proper translation to modern English would be Joshua. And Messiah just means, again, anointed one. And it has to go back to Old Testament where the Levite priests, who are also prophets, would anoint themselves as representatives of God, again, prophets, by pouring a ram's horn of olive oil, which had some other stuff sometimes, over their heads. And that's how they did it. So that's what the anointed one means. It just means one who is anointed as a representative of God. So now you're saying, so how did Yeshua, the Messiah, the anointed one, become Jesus Christ? Okay, so the Greeks translated everything, and they did so of, everything that was written about Jesus. But it's both a problem with the Y sound. The Y is not very prevalent in Greek, and so they did a direct translation. So Yeshua became Jesus, and Messiah became anointed one, became Christos. And then when that became anglicized more, Jesus Christos became Jesus Christ. And that's how Yeshua the Messiah became Jesus Christ. So now you can see that Antichrist just means somebody who is the opposite or acting the opposite of an anointed one of God, a prophet of God. They are the opposite. And that's all it means. The other thing we need to discuss real quick is the hallmark of the Antichrist, the 666. But it's not just 666. If you actually look and do some research on this, it's 666 and 616. And the key to this is that it'll pop up in the always like the worst one. They come in threes, but it's always the worst one. So now I'm going to go back in the future back in the past and talk to you guys about the Nostradamus antichrists. There's three of them, right? There's the King of Destruction, the King of Lies, and the King of Terror. And up to this point in history, most people have considered it like Napoleon, the King of Destruction, Hitler, the King of Lies, and the King of Terror is yet to come. But that's not true. All three of Nostradamus's antichrists have come and gone. They all were from the same time, and so we're going to go over them right now. Okay, here we go. And just a real quick preamble to reiterate. These are just hallmarks of the worst antichrist. It's not what made them antichrist. What they did made them antichrists. So here we go. All right. The King of Destruction was Hitler. The King of Lies was his second in command, Himmler. He would have taken over if Hitler would have died. He was the one that, revolutionized the Nazi propaganda of just keep telling the lie over and over and over and over, and until people either believe it or the ultimate desire of Nazi or any sort of fascist power is to have enough power to just like, 2 plus 2 equals 5, doesn't it? And you're so scared that you're like, yeah, 2 plus 2 equals 5. That's the only type of power they're trying to acquire. That's Nazi or fascist propaganda in a nutshell. But who is the third? Well, they all had similar names: Hitler, Himmler, and the third one is Hister. So who is Hister, or who was Hister? Well, give you a short riddle before I tell you. Who is the human being out of all 108 billion, roughly, of humans that have ever walked the earth, who is responsible for not the most deaths in history, but the most deaths in the fastest time? And that's who is the third Antichrist of Nostradamus. So, who was Hister? Well, think HST in that time in the world, and you can come to only one conclusion, especially with my riddle. Harry S. Truman dropped two nuclear weapons on Japan during the Second World War, and definitely when you kill people in, trillions of a second, a lot of them, yeah, your ratio of killing per second goes way up. So that's why he has the shame of being the third Antichrist and the one that killed the most human beings in the shortest amount of time with nuclear weapons, setting off a horrible precedent. He also threatened to thermonuclear nuke China, but that's a different story for a different day. But now we're going to go into the how you can get 616 and 666 out of his name. All right, here we go with the 616 and 666. For the record, the 616 is like the minor one. The 666 is the one that more ties them to the devil. So Harry S. Truman, how do you get 616 out of that? That's 516. And let me note for the record that, the devil also has these, wholesome names like Goodman, Feynman, Truman. But how do you get 616 out of that? Well, Harry is short for Harold, and Harold is 6 letters long. So that is 616. So how do you get 666? Well, that's because he had a secret middle name. Most of the time, he spelled his name Harry S. with no period, Truman. But sometimes he put a dot on it, like his library and stuff. And they used to say that he had no middle name, that like some people, that his middle initial was just S, but some people he was named after his Uncle Sue or whatever. But no, it could be that, but probably not. But if you put a dot in your name, that's an abbreviation. That's not a mistake. So he did have a middle name. And if I had to guess, I would guess Samael, which is name of the devil. Could be Samuel, but even if it's secret, it's still 6 letters long, and that gives you Harold Samael Truman, the King of Terror, the third Antichrist, he who has killed the most human beings in the shortest amount of time. All right, so now we get to the modern Antichrists. Well, the ones these days are obviously Putin's one of them. Xi Jinping is the other. Kim Jong-un probably deserves an honorable mention. But the third one, and the one with the signs, is Donald J. Trump, the president-elect of the United States. So how do you get 616 and 666 out of his name? Okay, firstly, 616. I mean, Donald J. Trump is 615. But Trump isn't his last name. It's his made up family name from a few generations ago to make it sound cooler. His true family name is Drumpf, Drumpf. And Donald J. Drumpf is 616. But you don't seem quite satisfied with that one. And you want to know about the 666 one. Well, that one takes a little bit more discussion. All right, so the nature of how to get 666 out of his name has to go back to the nature of the alphabet itself. And back in the day, way back 4,000 years ago when they first established the first alphabet, whether it was Phoenician or Hebrew, let's just call it Hebrew for now, it was 22 letters. They were all consonants, no vowels, and they are all capital letters. So now you're asking, well, then how did our modern alphabet develop out of this? Very good question. Well, because the Greeks translated everything, they took that alphabet and they added four more letters, mostly at the end, like a U and W, but then they changed five letters into vowels, including A, Aleph. And that was an alphabet that started with Alpha and ended with Omega, where the Hebrew alphabet starts with Alpha and ends with Tau or Tav. So that's why, like, all of the Greek buildings always have capital letters, because they're still weren't lowercase letters. So now you're asking, so where did the lowercase letters come from? Well, it was a commoner thing. The aristocrats and everything all used those capital letters for their official documents, and the commoners wanted kind of like their own thing. And so they made their own symbols to represent the alphabet in capital. And eventually, those became the lowercase letters and were introduced into the alphabet so that writing could get better. And then over time, the first letter in a sentence started with a capital, and then the rest, except for names and everything, were lower class. Spacing, they added serifs, they did a bunch of different things. But initially, the lowercase letters, which they called cursive, not the cursive as we know, but that's what they called it, were invented by commoners so that they had their own alphabet apart from the aristocrats. Which brings me back to Trump supporters. I mean, they're not the only ones, but they're known for on TikTok, YouTube, and everything, using a whole lot of caps. And I understand it's like yelling and everything, but in a way, if you're commoners, using all caps is like the bougiest thing you could do. If you guys really wanted to be common people and everything, wouldn't you be like making all your posts and TikToks and stuff in all lowercase letters? So now, really, all we have to do to come to the conclusion here is all you have to do on a sticky or a post-it or whatever you call it, or a piece of paper or a 3x5 card and everything, all you have to do is write down his initials in lowercase letters, his true initials. Donald J. Drumpf, so DJD. And you got to make sure on that J, to curl it around because it's lowercase. You don't want it to look like an I and everything. And I've taken the liberty to do it myself. And you have to remember that because this is iMovie, I am not inverted. It's not like TikTok or taking a mirror selfie, but that's how you should do it, because you're modern people. Do TikTok or a mirror selfie, something that mirrors your image and everything. And all you have to do is get in all of your, Donald J. Trump gear and everything with his, mark across your chest and, a flag with his mark across on your car and a bracelet with his mark on it. And when you guys went to the stuff and you went out, they always stamped your hand with his mark on it. But most of all, you got to take this picture with one of those signature red hats with his mark, his brand, right across your forehead as prophesized. And then all you have to do in a mirrored setup, this is not, but then you just write out his initials in lowercase letters and you hold it up and so that everybody knows, this is the team that I'm supporting, this is the team that I'm playing for, I guarantee from this point on in human history, as short, as long as it lasts, everybody's gonna remember you and the team that you were on. All right, I know this was a rough one. I'm glad I kept the time down so I didn't ramble forever and everything. But if you have any questions about why I would do this and everything, when obviously it does not suit me in a whole lot of ways, my name is Michael. I'm a firstborn. I am a prophet of God, a chosen prophet of God. I have no choice. I have to do what she tells me to. So, that being said, I love you all very much, even if I don't like a whole lot of you at the moment. But Rule number one: do not touch other people without their consent, aka do not hurt each other. Rule number two: even in this world of lies, it's all about honesty. Lies are a tick down, aka try not to lie. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.